and we are recording. To all my friends, thank you for coming to my birthday party today. Today is actually my 76th birthday, and to me, it's very symbolic in that since I am a third generation small business owner, every Saturday is Small Business Saturday for as long as I've lived. There's always a conversation about something business on a Saturday in my home. And so it's very, very special. And in a conversation that I wanted to have today, I could not have asked for a better person to have the conversation with. Barbara Weltman and I did our very first YouTube live stream 17 years ago. And since that time, we have done probably, hundreds of hours of YouTubes. As a matter of fact, if you go to my YouTube channel right now, I've got 4 different tabs, and each tab, Barbara is on each tab. So you are all over the place on my channel.
Wow.
But as I had mentioned to Barbara, in all my years of being in business, and that's basically about 55 years of being in business, I cannot think of another time when things are so confusing, just what's going on. And and to make matters worse, that's all I'm reading is how bad things are. So I said, well, I want to try to sort this stuff out, and there's not a better person in the United States of America than to sort out what's going on than Barbara Weltman, who has been studying business for how many years?
A long time.
A long time. And as I said, we've been having conversations about it live for 17 years on YouTube. So thank you, Barbara. Thank you for putting up with me.
Happy birthday.
Thank you for putting up with me for 17 years. That's more than any other one. Okay, so every Barbara, today's big ideas for small business. Barbara blogs 365 days a year, never misses. And today, it's her blog today was very important. Big ideas for small business, with the headline "Small Business Taxpayer Bill of Rights 2025?" Question mark. So, Barbara, why don't you tell us what that's all about?
Well, it's a proposal. It hasn't been enacted yet, but the point of the measure is to be proactive for small businesses. One of the points that I really like is emphasizing alternative dispute resolution, and just, if you have an issue with the IRS, instead of having to, go through have a lawsuit and all that, but just to be able to.
Okay, so let me interrupt for a second for a question about the IRS.
Yeah.
With all the layoffs and all the things, what's going to happen to the IRS and then for the rest of the year? I mean, how are things going to sort out?
Okay, well, so far so good. They have the tax season has worked okay, and there's been no terrible things happening. I think in the long, well, first of all, they're working. We can talk later about the tax package that's moving along, and hopefully will be enacted before July 4th. That's the target date, and it will obviously require IRS to be there to handle things. So IRS is not necessarily going away.
It's not going to go away. It can't go away.
Well, yeah. I'm hoping, and this is the problem with the IRS and with most other federal agencies is their outdated technology, that they just can't handle today what's reality. They just I don't know if you knew all, if you've heard about these things, but like Social Security having their records in some cave in Pennsylvania in paper, and it takes 6 weeks for a federal employee to retire because they have to go through all this paperwork because there's nothing technologically up to
There's no question that the
Yeah.
concept of Social Security is going to change. Absolutely going to change.
Well, yeah, but it's just but anyway, a lot of it is modernization of technology. And I think with respect to taxes, that's going to be a very good thing. And one of the aspects of that is why I'm adding a chapter to my book next year is that there is going to be more and more opportunity for small business owners to deal with the IRS via online through your business account. You can have a business account and you can get letters through there. You can check your tax balance. You can do a lot of things. And I think that we will be moving in that direction so that there will be more and more opportunity to interact on an
I guess that
online
sounds
basis.
like a good opportunity to hold the book up.
Okay, so the 2026 edition will have this new chapter on do-it-yourself options for small businesses to be able to easily file 1099s if you need to without having to get software and or have a tax pro do it for you and things like that. So
Well,
anyway, circling back to the Bill of Rights, it like I said, it's not law yet, but it's meant to protect small business owners in some ways. It's not like they have it's not like the regular Bill of Rights where they have 10 rights listed. It's just certain things like the right to be represented and record and do things like that with meeting with the IRS.
okay, so let's circle back to your first month. Well, let me explain to anybody that hasn't heard before that Barbara does her blog 365 days a year. However, on the first of every month, she publishes about 12 different stories, all of great interest. And I reference them every month because they are things that are special at that moment in time. Very appropriately in big ideas for May, tariffs, recession, and other uncomfortable topics for small business owners. You, where do you start on that one?
Okay, well, first I just want to clarify my 365-day post is idea of the day, and it's only 2 sentences. It's not an extensive blog. It's just pretty much.
Well, I held up a copy. I held up a copy
It's
of it.
just a couple of sentences, and
But
that's
it's where you send folks. That's
right. Exactly. I provide links, and if you want to learn more, so it's not a big deal to read every day. My blogs, I post 2 of my own blogs every week, and then I have guest bloggers who also post on my site. But as you mentioned, okay, so the first blog of the month, May is National Small Business Month, and so it's a great
okay.
time
Let's stop for a moment and talk about National Small Business Month. It is obviously something that was started by the Small Businesses Small Business Administration. I don't know how old it is, unless it's about the same age as National Small Business Week. Probably older.
I don't really know.
It doesn't matter.
It's been around a long time, and yeah.
And to that point, at the end of our conversation, I want to encourage folks to go to the summit.
Right.
And I actually have an agenda, and there's a couple items I want to bring to folks' attention that would be important. So,
okay, so going back to this idea of tariffs and recession and just all the confusion that's going on right now, and with respect to tariffs, in the short run, some businesses may experience issues. They, unlike large companies that can weather a price hike resulting from tariffs for imported goods that they need to use, whether raw materials for what they manufacture or coffee beans for their coffee shop. Whatever it comes in will cost more in the short run because they haven't worked out all the deals, and the large companies will be able to manage this. They're obviously already managing it. We've looked to the stock market and you can see what's going on. They figured it out, but small businesses kind of have to hang in there, and whether they decide to pass on the price hike to customers, maybe do it in a short run. I don't know if you excuse me, if you remember when the price of gas spiked, so many businesses put on a surcharge for deliveries and for everything. And so you can do a short-term thing. I believe in the long run, things will sort of work its way out, and this won't be a big issue. In other words, you'll be maybe paying more for stuff, but you'll get more for things you sell, and so things will balance out. And I think in the long run, the tariff issue is not so bad, but in the short run, figure out what to do about it.
Let me interject a personal opinion.
Yes.
That I think that all of the commotion going on is absolutely going to be tougher for small business. Absolute, no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
We're the bottom of the food chain, if you will.
Right.
And it's a thing that can really help is artificial intelligence. And
yes.
Remember, you and I had our first conversation about 18 months ago, and I was pretty much against it because I didn't understand it, but I'm very deeply into it right now. And one of the things I'm going to do today is I'm going to take that transcript that I talked about that's being created, and I'm going to do an artificial intelligence. What do you say about what is being said? So right. that'll be a fun project to do. But moving on to recession. By definition of a recession, we've had one quarter already.
We've had one quarter, and you need 2 quarters. The thing about recession is that they happen all the time. It's like it's a part of the normal economic cycle. Yes, it's uncomfortable for the short term, and it doesn't feel good when your revenue starts to decrease during the period when customers are not buying. I know there's right now a lot of factors going into a little bit of reluctance of consumers to buy, and yet National Retail Federation just put out their Mother's Day projections, and that spending's going to be higher than last year. So, you don't know, and that's
don't forget your mother.
Yeah, don't forget your mom. So the bottom line is, we don't know. Could there be a recession? Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, where things were where it was horrible. So again,
yes, they were pretty bad.
That was a very bad.
Those were huge years in my life. I had a very serious accident in 2009, and wow. So, but what's the positive aspect? There's lots of positive, but the major positive aspects for a business of any size. What is going on? The transition, the changes. It's going to make us do a better job. Have to do a better job at what we do with our businesses. How do we?
I'm so optimistic about it. First of all, one of the great things about small business is how nimble we can be and how quickly we can react. We don't have to go through committees and have, financial people assess everything. We just kind of make a decision. So if we want to adopt AI for a particular purpose, we just do it. We can try it. We can see how it goes. And so and small business has always succeeded. Yes, businesses close, but so do large companies. And if you look at the list of the major corporations, filing for bankruptcy protection this year, Joann's, and closing, 800 stores. I mean, yeah, but small businesses Also, some will not make it, some will struggle, but many will. And the number of business applications keeps going up month after month. There are more small businesses opening up every month. So, I'm optimistic.
I've been publishing for 55 years now. And in the good old days, things were simple, things operated differently. And if I was going to stay in the publishing business like I'm doing today, I have to go with the change. I have to go with the flow. I have to make myself be able to do what we're doing. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm really having a lot of fun with it because I've been doing it for such a long time. I'm having more fun now than I had in the old days. And to watch how people react, because we're in the business of trying to understand human behavior, and human behavior is going to change with the times, with what's going on in Washington, and what happened 5 minutes ago in the House, what happened, an accident in the House. I mean, that's part of the whole process, is to understand human nature, behavior, and make the best decisions. But I see, well, we'll talk about it later. Let's talk a moment about, because this is something that has really confused me. And I was reading, I'm going to read from an article that Forbes wrote about what's Dodge doing to small business. I'm going to read just a paragraph or two and let you comment on that. In the first few months of the Trump presidency, the Department of Efficiency has, oh, I must have skipped it. Anyway, now they talk about the SBA, and they make a good point about how important the SBA is really going to become to small business, because we need to turn to it to help us to get the answers. The SBA website used to have 4,000 pages. I don't know how many it has today, but a long time ago, that's a lot of information. And if you go there, and well, you well know, it teaches you how to, if you want to write a business plan, what's important.
I used to write for them. So I wrote for them for many years.
You did?
Yeah. So
of course you did.
I was a guest blogger for many years, and sometimes my posts pop up on Google. So
to that point, I'm hoping that well, I am going to try to keep my legacy alive only in Google, because 99% of my content is on Google servers someplace, either YouTube or Google servers someplace. And I'm not going to go for some new. I want to protect my legacy that I spent so many years building and developing. So I'm actually I'm trying to get in contact with a yes or no person at Google to have this conversation. What can we do to best protect small business on Google servers, because servers are going all over the place now with artificial intelligence. It's my server is better than yours.
So what is Forbes thinking, that Doge has done something negative to SBA?
The way it was done with Elon getting on and doing his commotion and picture, and while his company is going into the tubes, into the tank, while he's doing all this on Doge, it was a crazy act. It was a crazy story to watch. A crazy story. Yes. Do we want to become more efficient? Yes. Is there a way to become more efficient? Yes. The recession, if there is a recession, it's going to make us run our businesses more efficiently.
For sure. And if the federal government doesn't get more efficient, we're going to be in the tank. We were headed off the cliff. So with debt and everything, it was a question of it wasn't a question of good government sense, good business sense. It was a question of, live or die.
With all this cutting, and I just read it today. I read the headline today, and I didn't have time to figure out if it was artificial intelligence or the real news, that the budget that Trump is proposing is huge. No, huge. The budget going to and most of it's going to military stuff. Now, that's why I said I haven't checked the source.
And I've seen completely different information. So,
Uh,
you can't know
Who do
that
you believe?
the budget is like, how much smaller than the previous one, and that military, blah, 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 whatever. You can't, it's hard to know.
Thank goodness for
Plus, the
thank
other,
goodness for
you
the
know,
Barbara Weltmans of the world.
well, also, there may be cuts, but I think after a while, as things settle out, we know how government operates. Things are going to come back on. If they cut this program, 6 months from now, the program will be back. That's just how I feel of programs that shouldn't have been cut.
Well,
That
one
so
one thing that I see on the horizon, and I'm actually for it. I think a lot of decisions that are made, be they business or personal decisions, are they're going to be made at the state level and not
yes.
in Washington, and that's wonderful.
Well, I think so too, because regional interests are paramount.
So that was that comment about Doge, NFIB. I
Oh
know
yeah,
you follow them pretty closely.
yes I do.
Um, April 29th, I got an email from them. The budget resolution. They're talking about the budget resolution. U.S. Senate budget
Right.
resolution will allow Congress to make the small business deduction permanent.
Yes, what they want to do, there are several things. One is they want to make bonus depreciation, which is the opportunity to write off the cost of equipment, 100% retroactive to January 20th, or whenever the president took office, January 20th, and make that permanent. So that would be a great incentive. The second incentive, that's not so clear whether it will pass, is to make to give 100% bonus depreciation. Right now, bonus depreciation applies mostly to equipment and certain improvements to property. They want to make it for building factories. And think of the incentive. You put up a factory and you write off the cost right away instead of over the 39 years. I mean, that's a huge incentive. The other aspect, which is not so clear, is what they plan to do with the qualified business income deduction, the QBI deduction, which is a write-off, a personal deduction for owners of pass-through entities based on their business income, meant to bring down the effective tax rate on business profits. It expires at the end of 2025. I think I personally think they're just going to extend it and not make changes. I would prefer that they made some changes, improvements, simplification, and things like that, and made it permanent. As long as there is a 21% corporate tax rate, there should be this permanent QBI deduction. But then again, Congress is not listening to me per se.
What's going on in Congress? They've been on recess for the last couple of weeks, haven't they?
There was an Easter recess for 2 weeks, but they're back.
Good. We're paying some good salaries. Okay. Let me just do the headlines on Karen's newsletter for the purpose of information. Congress is back. The pro growth win for the American people was headline number one. Legitimate questions about the effectiveness of Regulatory Flexibility Act for small business.
Right.
Was her second headline.
Well, right now we have a Regulatory Flexibility Act, which is supposed to require all of the agencies that promulgate regulations to determine their impact on small business, and it really hasn't worked as well as the intention. And so I think that's kind of the gist of how do we make it better.
World IP Day. That's an ad for World IP Day.
Yes.
You'll probably have that in
it was an idea of the day. It was an idea of the day. That was last week.
No other headlines. It goes into a long conversation about technology, which you've
Yeah.
already talked about, how important technology is to business. Embrace it in any way you can. Um, it's got its good point, it's got its bad points, but it's how things operate. And so get your hands around it the best way you can.
Yep. Yep. I definitely.
Okay. And I wanted to discuss,
Talk about your project.
well, before that, I want to talk about National Small Business Week Virtual Summit. And
Right.
actually, I learned first about it
From my idea of the day, which I
your
gave a
idea of the
heads up
day.
to
And this is
register.
happening on the 6th and 7th this coming week.
Yes.
And here's an agenda.
The agenda, and you can register online. It's free,
It's free.
and you can
Register,
just
lots of good
attend
information.
what you like. You don't have
Ones
to
that caught
attend.
my attention were Google and Google AI and marketing and sales. Those are the
Right.
ones that caught my attention. But the essentials, anything that happens at the Small Business Administration somehow will be reflective in their summit. And it's a real interesting. Talk about technology. When I went, you go into different technologies. They got an exhibit hall, a mentoring room, a networking lodge, and an inspiration hall. And I actually visited all those one year, and it's fascinating. And
It's very interesting.
it's
Yeah.
highly recommended for anyone who is watching this video. It's a great time well spent. And as you said, it's free. It happens in 2 days. If you can't go to all of it, pick out ones that are important to you. Okay, let's talk about, wow, Project 10,000. You and I actually have not had a personal conversation.
No.
You've
So
seen-
I'm a listener now.
You've seen a lot of stuff about it. Basically, Project 10,000 is what I feel I can give back to a community, to a marketplace that has been so wonderful to me for 55 years. And the things I'm going to be doing in Project 10,000 are things that I've been doing for 55 years. And I'm just putting them all together. And the concept, my bottom line concept is to publish and digitally publish and digitally produce 10,000 stories of marketing and sales, value, trust. AI is creating havoc in the value world, and that I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. What it is doing, I feel, for small business really is creating more of a level playing field. That you don't have to be a big guy to employ artificial intelligence, and so that's a good thing. Well, it's becoming increasingly more important that the final decision that a consumer makes, be it on the business side or the personal consumer side, is trust. Do I trust the source from whom I'm buying, the source from whom I'm getting information? Is it happening? And so my objective is to I have a system. I created a system in any of the 387 metropolitan statistical areas, MSAs. The system can be employed because there's stuff happening locally in that market, and there's stuff happening in cyberspace, and we're converging the two. Just what I've been doing for years, and each market can has stories of value and trust, and we want to find them. And we're going to find them through folks who sponsor co-hosts, because not only are they going to sponsor the stories of those 25 businesses, but they're also we're going to tell their story potentially twice on 2 Saturdays, one Saturday and the successive Saturday, tell their value and trust story. What do they bring to the marketplace? And we're going to have a lot of fun with it. And like I said, it can go into any of the markets. Right now, I have proposals in front of 3 community banks in the Cincinnati market. One of the 3 community banks actually knows me. We've actually done a YouTube together, and he's one of the most fascinating people I've ever met. And so I'm trying to put the project together at first and said, but it can go into any market. So anybody listening, watching, no matter where you are, if you want to talk about it, how it might get into your market, email me is going to be the best way. dleopold@davidsbarter.com. Pretty simple. And here's some fun I'm going to do, Barbara. I hope you're going to like this. Anybody that gets involved in Project 10,000, I don't care what their involvement level is from here to here, they're going to get a private number to text me 24/7 until I'm no longer on the face of the earth. And text me your question. I'll get you headed in the right direction. How much fun am I going to have? And I'm going to have a smartphone, and that's the only thing it's going to do is that function.
Gotcha.
It's like the bat phone. It's going to be like the bat phone. So I'm having a good time, Barbara, is the bottom line to Project 10,000. As I said, the marketplace has been wonderful to me for 55 years. And I want to give back and share what the fun that we're having. Let's have it. Let's bring the fun back to business.
Well, let's hear all about it on your next birthday and recap
From your mouth to God's ears. For number 77. Okay, I will do it if you'll be here with me on my 77th birthday. Sure. We'll do a status update.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, Dave. Barbara, as always, it's been a wonderful time, and the next time may very well be the best time. And as I'd like to tell folks, do what you love and love what you do. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. I shut this thing off.
Yeah, end the recording. I want to tell you a story.
Oh, yes. I love stories. Stop
okay.
recording.